what we are going to do today is we're going to continue. Last time, I think we stopped at 27, where we said that Tasya Saptadha Pranta Bhumihi Prajna. There are 7 different stages of how one attains the knowledge over the highest. This is where we stopped. Now we want to go from 2.28. Yeah?
Yes.
You want to chant?
Go ahead, Mary. You're very good.
She's very good.
Oh, no, let's do it together then, shall we?
Okay.
Yeah.
I follow you.
Yoganga
Uh,
anustanat ashuddhi kaye jnana diptihi aviveka kyataehi.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yoga Anga Anushthanad Ashuddhi Gyeya Ashuddhi Kshaye Jnana Deepti Aviveka Kyatehe. That means Yoga Anga Anushtana. There are Anga means parts or limbs. By Anushtana means practicing. Yoga Anga Anushtana. If we practice the various limbs or various parts of this yoga, Ashuddhi Kshaye, that means the impurities are all removed. Jnana Deepti Aviveka Kyatehe. That means the light. Jnana Deepti means the wisdom of light, right? Which will light up, which will give you the Atma Gnana or the self-knowledge. In other words, till now, he has been talking about what is yoga, what are the various aspects of yoga, and what is Ishvara, what happens to us, our efforts. If we don't succeed in this life, is our efforts wasted? Are all the good effects of our good actions will be carried forward? And how do we attain knowledge? If Samadhi is the means of knowledge, what is Samadhi? What does one experience? All these things he explained. All right. It's all conceptual framework, ideas. What is the objective of doing? What are we getting, etc. How? How do we get it? Like Miral was just asking, what kriyas can I do so that these things do not happen, right? Intensifying the Shakti, like you asked. How? How is very important because why helps you, helps getting clarity as to this is why we do it. And therefore, there is a purpose of doing it. What do we do to get the purpose? That gives us clarity on subset of certain things we have to keep. But then what we need is step-by-step instructions. Do this, A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. That's very important because in ultimate analysis, intention by itself does not create results. By doing appropriate actions alone, do you get results? What is an appropriate action? The answer lies in this. Yoga Anga Anushtana. The various steps of this yoga, if you follow, then Jnana Deepti, the light of wisdom will get lit. How? By destruction of all impurities. What are those various steps? That is where we are going to 29.
Okay, ready, Miral?
Yes.
Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhayaha, Ashtau Angani.
Excellent, excellent. I like the way you structure musically say it. Lovely. What are those steps? There are going to be Ashta Angani. That means there are going to be 8 steps. Ashta means 8. Anga means steps. What are the 8? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. That's why they say Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadho. Ashta Angani. These are the 8 steps. Right? What are this? What are those Yama, Niyama? Now, I think you may have studied in other courses, whatever you have attended so far, Ashtanga Yoga as it is called. I'm very sure you would have studied like that, studied these things. The way I would like to characterize is that there are attitudinal preparation which is necessary. Because everything starts with the attitude, right? Like, if your attitude, like Miral was saying, you have it or you don't have it. As simple as that. If your attitude is not appropriate, your behavior cannot be appropriate because behavior follows the attitude. Therefore, some of the attitudinal things you're inborn, some of the things can be trained upon over a period of time. You can train upon. And like I was telling during the question answer session to Miral, you can try it if you don't have it, and pray to Ishvara to grant it to you, and you at the right time it will be granted to you. Then you have to follow a behavioral pattern which can reinforce and build on the attitudes. For example, many times repetitive action reinforces our belief. Initially, it may be weak belief, be weak commitment rather, but by repetitively doing, mind starts seeing that your repetitive action produces a positive result which you are looking for, and therefore your conviction gets strengthened. Like many people say that, if you're trying to be a bodybuilder or if you're trying to run a marathon, they say that it's going to be initially, though you have a commitment, it's a weak commitment because it's a struggle. There's so much pain is there. Therefore, your commitment initially is weak. But as you keep running and cramming or doing all the tough exercises, you feel so good about your body. And then your conviction that I should do it gets strengthened. Therefore, repetitive activities has a potency of reinforcing or strengthening your commitment or belief. Therefore, behavioral pattern needs to be aligned with the attitude. You prepare. These two things have to be done so that your body, mind, and intellect and your psyche is ready for this Ashtanga journey. Because it's not like doing 5 steps of exercise and then say it's all done. It's not going to be like that because this has to be practiced 24/7, all 365 days as long as you live. That is how Ashtanga Yoga is practiced. It's not going to a gym session for 45 minutes. It does not work like that. Therefore, unless your attitudes and behavior is tuned up, as it were, it will not be a lifelong, continuous, unbroken effort. Like you, for example, again, yes, Miran, go ahead.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Mr. Rao, why is that the Hatha Yoga Pradipika doesn't start with Yama and Yama?
Well, because all classical texts from India, they always they have a structure, recommended structure. Anybody wants to write a book, they recommend a structure, which says first you always begin with, I'm loosely saying this, whether it is more detailed, but for concisely I'm saying, first of all, it always begins with a recognition of Ishvara, recognizing that whatever is happening only at Ishvara's will. Every moment of my life, every step is guided by his will. That is a recognition of that. Then there is a recognition of Guru. Whatever knowledge you got is only because somebody taught you. As a baby, I don't know whether you had all this knowledge. That means throughout your life, somebody or other teaching several different things. You owe it to that person who taught you. Therefore, there has to be a respect which is given to the Guru who taught you this. Then, structure demands that there has to be an objective set for the book. What is it? Why am I writing this book? Why is, first of all, you tell that. After explaining the why, then you have to explain what. Then you go into the how of it. That is where Ashtanga Yoga comes in. That's why it comes later. And after giving the how of it, always, the structural guideline in India demands you have to say what will you get out of this. Of course, you will say my objective of nirvana, etc. But along with that, do you get anything else? Then you have to explain what are the various things you will get. For example, in terms of health, mental health, physical health, whether you get some magical powers called siddhis, right? All that will be told. And then it also tell that, hey, be careful. Your objective was not to get these magical powers. Your objective was to understand your true identity. Just because you're getting some magical powers, if you go after that, you will lose your objective. That is, you will not be getting self-realized person, but at best you will be seen as a great yogi with magical powers, but like anybody else, he's using that power to make money and fame and power, etc. You will end up like that. Therefore, the caution is given. And then finally, there's always a section called Mangalam, which means auspicious way they end it. You start with a very good, humble, like you mentioned, Viral. You start with a humble note saying that whatever it is not mine. It's all because Ishvara's will. With humility, you say that. And then you conclude by an auspicious note saying that, oh, if you do that, this is the great. Usually, all auspicious will be singing some kind of a glory of the holy effort and things like that. That is why you will find that treatises from India will not try straight away talk what you think. It'll go in this particular way.
The reason I ask this, Mr. Rao, because all the yamas and niyamas, after all, they are restraints, right? Or they are, how should I say, kind of rules, behavior rules. And one time you mentioned that that actually we should let everything happen and we should not restrain anything, especially when we do meditation. And, I don't misunderstand. I'm just asking as a logical thing, like I'm not against yamas and niyamas. I respect it very deeply. So please don't misunderstand. But I was just asking because in a Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it doesn't start with that and doesn't really focus on that. And was just asking that, isn't that a restraint also, these yamas, niyamas in some ways?
Can we reserve it when we get there to Hatha Yoga Pradipika?
Oh, of course. Sorry.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah, sure. Shall we go to 30?
Yes.
I have a question. Is this is in the order of how you should approach it and accomplish what number one, then number two, and number three, or you do it all together?
Okay. When you learn step by step.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you practice automatically, for example, when you are not going in for meditation, you cannot be doing dhyana, right? Other activity when you do, the dhyana is not applicable. But yama niyam is always applicable. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's big. I mean, I guess what I mean is the question is, do you have to master the one before you master the next one, or do you just practice?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
the fact that they put yama niyama first is like, in a way, to actually be compassionate or to be considerate of another person or oneself, you have to be in a certain state. Like you can fake it, but that's not authentic. It's not coming from, you know, so
Yes,
the impression.
I understand your question, but here is the answer. The answer is, honestly, it does not matter, because how do I determine that I have mastered it? On what basis? Somebody else can't judge me because they're not watching me 24/7. Even if they watch me, they can only see what I am saying or doing. They don't know what is in the mind. In ultimate analysis, your actions, like you say, you can fake your action, but in the mind, it is, you cannot fake it in your mind.
Right. And you're just cheating yourself, really.
Exactly. Therefore, there's no way anybody outside person can judge you. Then the question is, can you judge yourself to say, I have become master?
Yeah.
Maybe you can, but there's a trap there. Like you say, you can cheat yourself, number one. And number two, the very thought that I have become a master will be counterproductive because you become egoistic. Therefore, the best way to do is, this is the recommended thing. With humility, understand that my job is to keep trying, not to count how many times I lied or how many times I hurt somebody. Not that. My job is to keep trying to be honest, trying to be humble, trying to be nice to people, sincere. All I keep trying.
Yeah.
That portion is alone. You have what is called adhikara. That is the right. The only right you have is to try. The end result, you don't have any right. It becomes Ishvara's gift. Therefore, we don't even go there. But at the same time, we have what is called conscience. It will tell us. When you tell a lie, it will tell you, saying, oh my God, you failed the test.
Yeah.
Why are you lying now? Right? Likewise, the conscience will point out all the missteps. You listen to the conscience and keep making an effort and try. And then leave the rest to Ishvara. And the beauty of that is, this is probably something which many people may not agree. My view is, you don't have to be a master of any step. You don't have to. The very fact, like I said, I constantly talk about this. Ishvara's gift. Ishvara is going to judge you based on your sincerity of effort. Therefore, you don't have to worry. You know, it's like, for example, I'm not a perfect swimmer. A small little flood comes, I can still somehow cross over, right? If I join a competition, I may not win a single medal, but still I may survive. Likewise, on the one hand, why do I say that is this? You don't have anything other than yourself to achieve results. And you're starting, all of us are starting in rock bottom. That means we are not fully there. That's why we are in the rock bottom. In which case, if we carry a notion that unless I master each and every step, I'm not going to make progress, that very thought will prevent you from doing anything and everything. You will stop there. Forever you'll be negative and live there. So you take a positive note. Yes, Patanjali has told, Krishna has told, Ishvara has told that even if you are not perfect, for every step you get a reward. So his reward is there. It will push me up and up. One day I will be there. That takes your mind from the anxiety and self-condemnation. That's why I say that don't worry about it. We know that these are the steps. We keep trying. Is this a satisfactory answer?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's go to 30.
All right. Ready, Mirel?
Yes.
Ahimsa Satya Astaya Brahmacharya Aparigraha Yama.
Very good, very good. What is Yama? Because we said on the 8 steps, Yama is the first told. What is Yama? Yama has got 5 components. The first one is Ahimsa. Second is Satya. Third is Astaya. Fourth is Brahmacharya. Fifth is aparigraha. Therefore, all these five together form the Yama. Ahimsa, Satya, Astaya, Brahmacharya, aparigraha, Yamaha. That's how 5 steps, 5 components are explained. Right? What is this ahimsa? Ahimsa is intentionally not harming anybody. The ahimsa has to be carefully understood because theoretically 24/7 we are harming somebody. Why? Because even when you are sleeping, we think of our body, but actually the body is the house for all kind of germs and all kind of insects, minute insects. Once I made a mistake of watching. What do you call that? And the circular dome is there. You see everything in a observer. What?
Yes.
Observatory.
Huh?
Observatory?
Yeah, something like that. You go there to big observatory and they have a huge dome kind of screen all over. You see. By mistake, without proper understanding, I bought a ticket for a movie. I had gone with all my relatives. They talked about the whole movie is about 5-minute, 10-minute movie about how all kind of microorganisms live on your body. It was so horrible to see, actually. Yeah, but the fact is, our body is a universe for them. All kind of microorganisms, living organisms, thrive top to bottom of our body. So if they magnified maybe 10,000 times, they showed all the stuff. That is very stunning. But many times we harm them. When you roll on the bed, you're actually crushing many of them. They're dead. So on and so forth. Likewise, unknowingly we do a lot of things. Sometimes knowingly also we do things because many times we eat other living beings. From the other living beings, chicken or lamb point of view, it is himsa for them. For us, it is food. For them, we are hurting them. So then there is a big debate, ethical debate. Is it ahimsa? Is it himsa? And all the stuff. So the several nuanced answers have been given. But generally, ahimsa means not intentionally harming any other being. Otherwise, we'll tie ourselves in knots whether we should eat or we should not eat. The problem is, okay, you don't want to harm anything else, therefore you don't want to eat, but then you will die. You're harming yourself. So which harm is better? You see, therefore there are a lot of ethical conversation, but if you want to go into that, it will be a separate 1 hour conversation. But for this today's thing, it is enough to say ahimsa means intentionally not harming any other being. Any dispute on this? Any conversation you want on this? Yes.
Even a mosquito?
I knew you would ask that. Even a mosquito.
Because I get bit in my family, it all comes to me.
Yeah, I know. The point is, okay, since you asked this is the ethical question, let me try to answer it. If there is a way of preventing those mosquitoes from biting you, right? If you adopt all those means at hand, not that somewhere in some other country it is available. At hand, you have these devices, you have tried, and still it comes to harm you, you kill it. Right? But if you say a bunch of mosquitoes or some other insects happily, for example, spider is a great example. Spiders are most harmless.
Yeah, no, I love
But somehow everybody gets scared of spider. So it runs away from you, go chase it and kill it. That's a problem.
Okay, I won't do that.
I'm sure many of us do that, right? Cockroaches. The moment we see, we want to kill it. Just because it looks different, from our point of view, it is ugly. And because we think it might harm you, you kill it. That is a problem. But if it comes to harm you, then probably it is allowed to kill as a self-preservation. At least till we reach a state of where we don't know whether we're living or dead, we don't care. Oh, come on and kill me. That is a different conversation. Therefore, intention, that's why I kept saying, intention matters a lot in all those things. The tiger is bouncing on you. What do you do? Come on, tiger. That's why there's a joke. I mean, there's a story told by one of the great Indian gurus. you must have heard of Vivekananda, all of you. This person, Ramakrishna, is a guru of Vivekananda. He used to tell a story saying that, when people get confused on this kind of ethical dilemma, he used to say, what, then he tell a story. He explained things in very, very small stories, no big Sanskrit quotes. In a very, very local language, small story. He said one guy was attending big congregation and satsang, and he was told that, oh, God is everywhere and all the things, and therefore he was so pumped up with this feeling and came out, and on the street there was a mad elephant running, and there was a Mahautu sitting on the top of the elephant guiding him, go away, elephant is mad and all the stuff. This fellow said, no, Ishvara is in me, Ishvara is an elephant, and he stood there and it gave him a whack. He got injured and came back to the guru and said, what is this, guru? You told me I had the same principle, but unfortunately the elephant has really kicked me. He said, by the way, did you hear the Mahout God telling you to go away? You listen to the elephant God, but Mahout God was telling you go away. Why did you ignore that? Okay, that's why they say that. Therefore, the way to draw a line is, what is the intention? If the intention is to just hurt something for pleasure, for fun, just because you can do it, just because other party is weak, then it is himsa. For other legitimate reasons, if you're doing, it is not treated as himsa. That is ahimsa. Next is a little more complicated. Satya, telling the truth, is very easy to say that I will never tell a lie. Practicing is going to be very, very hard, because when you tell the truth, what is the consequence? In some American movie, they said, you can't handle the truth, and the fellow says happily, right? Like that. Sometimes other party cannot handle the truth. Many times, if you tell the truth, other person gets hurt physically, emotionally, physiologically, etc. Then the satya and the ahimsa needs to be balanced, right? Like again, further, they tell a story. When someone was, one guy was sitting under a tree, and a deer was running because it was being chased by a hunter. It went into a bush. The hunter came and asked him, tell me, where did the deer go? Now, do you tell the person this went this way so that he can go and kill it? Then it becomes a himsa. You're part of a himsa. If you say I don't know, or if you say it went in another direction, you are telling a lie. Then what will you follow? Satya, or will you follow ahimsa? That is why I'm saying it's very hard to judge whether we have mastered anything in these steps. When can you ever say, I am the most truthful person, the best truthful person in the world? How can I say that? It's very, very hard. That it means sometimes you will be crossing the boundary. Sometimes you may be thinking I am telling the truth, or I am hiding the truth for a good reason, but it may not be a good reason, sufficient reason. Like to explain this conflict between Satya and Ahimsa, several stories are told in various Indian Puranas to say, give a message that context decides what you have to do. You cannot decide things on absolute terms, right? Therefore, all these things will come later as we go forward in life. When we face into complicated situations, we will have to make the determination to do this. That is Satya. Then next is Astaya. That is loosely translated as theft, not non-stealing. Astaya is non-stealing. It has to be interpreted a little more nuanced way. You may not physically steal it, but as long as mentally covet it, it could be stealing. You may not possess it, but you may still covet it. The idea is to clearly understand, I do not want to possess what is not mine. Even in thought, word, or deed. Not only in deed, in thought, word, and deed. Manasa, vacha, kaya, they say. Why? On one hand, it can be seen as a moral instruction or ethical instruction. On another side, you think clearly, you understand what is it that Patanjali has been saying all along in other, preceding slokas. He is trying to identify your true nature. Everything else in the world is not yours. Other than your true identity, Atma Jnana, Atma Bodha as they call, every mind is not yours. Intellect is not yours. Why? Today in this body you have this mind and intellect. If you are born as a fish tomorrow, you'll have a different mind and intellect. Which is yours? You are same in both the cases. But mind has changed, intellect has changed. Even if you're born as a human being, you may be born as a different kind of human being. So mind is not yours. Intellect is not yours. All the physical body is not yours. Thought is not yours. Actions are not yours. Nothing is yours. Therefore, Astaya, non-stealing, means non-possessorship, non-coveting in thought, word, and deed. If you extrapolate to such a depth, you recognize the meaning that what he's trying to tell you is disassociate the notion from the notion that you are the mind, body, intellect, and things like that, because it's not yours. Now, therefore, varying degrees, depending on the context, Astaya has different meaning, and you try to follow. Right? For example, we have family, we have children. In the beginning, when they are so dependent on you without the parental intervention, the children die because they cannot eat. They can't even eat. You have to feed. That means they'll die. In that, during those phases, it is my child. It is an acceptable definition because there it is not the possessing egoistic possessorship. It is a recognition of the responsibility and duty which you have. Without you intervening, the child will die. Therefore, it is my child is acceptable. But when the child grows bigger and bigger, becomes an adult and all the stuff, my child, then we have a problem. The child will not like it, nor will it be good for you. Therefore, the same relationship, interpersonal relationship, as a mother or father and a child, will cross the boundaries of responsibility and becomes a violation of Astaya when you start feeling very possessive about them, even when they become independent, when they can take care of themselves. Therefore, depending upon the stage of life we are in the context which you are facing, all these things have to be properly analyzed and understood. Any comment? Yes, I can see that. Here you're asking something.
Do you want to ask something, Mary? Would you like?
No, just very quickly, what comes to mind, I was wondering, I know this is like not really on topic, but are the 10 commandments. And I was just, I mean, Jesus' 10 commandments, and I'm wondering if he got some from here. That's all.
I mean, there are two ways of yeah. Go ahead.
No, like thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, thou shalt not lie. I don't know. It just sounds familiar in a way.
Yeah, there are two ways of responding to that. As a person coming from India, I'm very tempted to say that Jesus came to India and learned it from some guru. I'm very tempted to say that. On the other hand, as a person coming from India, which has got all kind of very deep texts which point out that the Ishvara Tattva is universal, number one. It is being described as different types by different people because that's the way they recognize it, not because that's how it is. But the essence is same is what the Indian text tell. And also says that all knowledge and wisdom which is necessary to guide living beings, particularly human beings, pre-existed creation of the universe. And it was created, like I think we did talk about it in Vishnu concept, Narayana concept, we talked about. Conceptually, it was in an intelligence, infinite intelligence, which does not have a body and therefore matter. Therefore, it can pre-exist the creation of the universe. Logically, they proposed. And the very first person required guidance, it was available, is what we told. In which case, logically, one might surmise, guess that, argue that, if Jesus was a real person, if Jesus was such a great person as the Bible says, it is strong possibility that he connected with Ishvara wherever he was and got the truth downloaded straight away. He did not have to come to India to learn from somebody. He may have, that is a separate story. He need not have is the argument. Yeah, because we do see, both are possible, because we do see some of the elements are there everywhere, whether even Jewish also, I'm sure is there, everywhere it is there. Even pagans have similar stuff. Greeks have similar stuff. On the one hand, it is possible that they all downloaded from Ishvara directly. On the other hand, we also know between Danube and probably Burma, the people are going left and right of our various trade routes and war routes and things like that. There was so much of interaction happening, because till 1000 AD or so, 80% of world population was living between these two rivers, the Danube in the Eastern Europe and the Ganga, end of Ganga in Burma side. 80% population were living there because Europe was very cold. In America, hardly 3% of the population was living. Europe only had 10% or 12%, they say. Therefore, for trade and other things, people are moving always east to west and vice versa. It is possible that they always carry back the taste of one and influence the other. For example, the Iranian Zend-Avesta, if you see that, it is identical to, in terms of content, I'm saying, to Rig Veda. We can see that. Yeah. Therefore, I'm very sorry, I'm not giving you clarity, but I can only say that maybe this is downloaded from Ishvara directly, if whatever told about him is true. And it is also possible that he came to India and learned something and went back. I don't have a clear answer for you.
Okay.
Any other question? Any question? Any other question?
I think with the Yama, Mr. Rao, everything comes from ahimsa, because if a person doesn't want to harm anybody, including myself, then I'm absolutely not going to, I'm going to be loyal, sincere, I will be truthful, not hurting anyone with my truthfulness, and not be manipulative and calculating. I think that's real truthfulness. If someone doesn't calculate and manipulate. And from the Yama, I feel that ahimsa and brahmacharya are the two for a yogi standpoint of view, the most important things. Ahimsa and brahmacharya. Everything else comes from ahimsa. Even aparigraha comes from ahimsa, because if I don't want to hurt myself, I don't do those things. I don't do all the other things. Why should I? It's gonna, give me, a non-peacefulness inside.
Correct.
So.
Correct. You're right. In fact, one of the verdict given is in various conversations, in various Puranas that discuss this. The conclusion is that ahimsa was put as number one as the first word in the statement for a purpose, to indicate that is number one in terms of priority. If there is a conflict between multiple elements, he always give precedence to ahimsa. Yeah. What is ahimsa? You follow, others will fall in their respective places, is what the verdict is. For a yogi, I don't know whether ahimsa and brahmacharya are the only important. I don't know whether I can say that, because ultimately, the reason they have given 5 is because each one of them influence the behavior. Yeah, this is an attitude. I will not be violent is an attitude, right? I speak the truth is an attitude. These are all attitudes. All of them will influence the behavior, and therefore, I think all are important. But if there is a conflict among them, you give precedence to ahimsa. That is how the decision has been given. That's all I can tell.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, yeah. Then next one is Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is what is Brahmacharya? It is very differently understood by differently interpreted by different people. One interpretation of Brahmacharya is sexual celibacy is considered as to be a Brahmacharya. But then there we see great yogis have been married people, right? The person who taught yoga to the whole world, Shiva Pashupati, himself is a married person. His wife is Parvati. And in fact, there is a separate subject called Vamachara Tantra. I don't know whether people have read about it. In Vamachara Tantra is a text about how to use sex as a means of self-realization. Therefore, Brahmacharya as an avoidance of sex or celibacy is not widely accepted. But there is a benefit, of course, in not getting involved into this, because if you want to dedicate your entire time 24/7 to yoga, jhana, and all that stuff, you cannot do it if you have a family around you. I mean, that's been Mary's complaint in every session. You just cannot do it. There are so many other things to do. But if you don't have your partner, your children, etc., then you all the time at your disposal, you can do whatever you want. From that point of view, it is helpful. And particularly for those who are willing to dedicate their life to teach others as gurus or head of a organization or head of a church or something like that, you are handling thousands of people. There are always somebody or other always at your door wanting some help or guidance or mentorship. Then you having a family becomes a problem. You cannot do that. That for such people, depending on the role you play, it is recommended. Otherwise, the way it is told is Brahmacharya is Brahmacharya. Brahma is truth, absolute truth. Charya it means follower, embracer, is what it means. That means if you are always seeking the truth, you are a brahmachari. Corollary is that what is the truth? The truth is your true identity is prajna. Again, I will come back to the same point. The truth is your true identity is prajnanam or consciousness, atma. That is your true identity. Body is not your true identity. Therefore, at some point in time, you recognize if body is not my true identity, why should I spend time on activities related to the body? Therefore, you disengage from that. So automatically you minimize all other body activities, including sex. And second, why do we go after sex? One reason is because we want children. But that is only, in my view, 5% of the times. 95% of the time we indulge in sex because it's good. We feel good about it. We get pleasure from that. But if Atma Jnana, the bliss you get out of your dhyana, samadhi, etc., is million times bigger and permanent when compared to the joy you get out of sex, what would you do? Any logical person would divert time, effort towards this only. So therefore, in such cases, the abstinence brahmacharya is a consequence of self-knowledge. It is not a necessary discipline to attain self-knowledge. Only in this context, I'm saying. Otherwise, it's not a big deal, frankly speaking. For example, Osho was here in India. He came from India. He ran a big ashram in I think Oregon. He took the whole country by the storm. He was follower of Vamachara Tantra, right? Therefore, it does not give us license for freely indulging and wasting all our time, effort, etc. At the same time, one should not feel guilty, nor should you feel that it is a burden because you live a married life. That's very important. When you take a role of being a husband or a wife, obviously this becomes a part and parcel of the role. Therefore, the explanation is don't feel so burdened. Oh my God, since I'm married, I'm not eligible. No. There are so many stories in Vedas where great yogis struggle, and who do they go for guidance? They go for a married rishi or a married king.
Mr. Rao, do you remember that book, Govinda? You gave me a book or recommended me a book, Bhava Govinda, or what was the name of the book? And I read that book, and it says, oh, be careful with these things because everyone will leave you at the end. And if you don't practice, it's going to be a big Bhava Govinda, right?
Bhaja Govinda.
Yes. I remember that book.
Yeah. Right? That is Brahmacharya. Then the fifth one is Aparigraha. It is staying away from greed. That we all understand. It's a lot more easy for us to understand. And we are a lot more comfortable agreeing that I can drop greediness we can drop. We all agree, consensus. Yeah? Any questions, any comment? None. Then let's go for 31.
Miral, ready?
Okay.
Jati Deshakala Samayana Sarva Bhaumaha Maha Vratam.
Yes. Now, for example, if these five are given as guidance, not violating them is considered to be a great conduct. Sarvabhauma Mahavritam, the last two words. Jati Desha Kala Samaya Anavichannaha Sarvabhauma Mahavritam. Sarvabhauma Mahavritam means great conduct. The vrata is, if you take a vow to follow a discipline, it's called a vrata. Mahavrata means great vrata. Sarvabhauma is king emperor. So not violating these things is considered to be the king emperor of all the vratas. When we say that, automatically we have a problem. We ask questions. Is there concessions or are there situations where we can transgress that? In absolute terms, Jati, Desha, Kala, Samaya, Ana, Vichannaha. Right? That means it has to be independent of time, whether it's morning, night, or evening. Kala. Desha means wherever you are, whether you're in India, or Burma, or you Canada, or wherever. Then um, Samaya. Samaya is a, I would say, context. Yeah, in some contexts it's allowed, some contexts not allowed. But one must try to follow in any kind of context. Or jati is the caste system. In India, had a caste system where people were stratified into 4 categories. It mentions that nobody gets a concession in this. Everybody has to follow the same guidelines. Independent of your class, if you have to modern terms translate, independent of the class you belong to, independent of the country you belong to, independent of the situations, independent of, let us say, which part of the day or year you're there. In other words, it only says you follow it 24/7, 365 days in a year. That's what you should attempt to follow. That is why it is called Sarvabhauma Mahavratam. Any questions? No?
No,
Mary?
it's pretty
Okay.
clear, yeah.
Okay, great. Let's go to 32 then.
Okay.
You ready, Miral?
Yeah. Shao, shao,
cha samtosha
tap,
tapaha svadhyaya
ya,
i-
ishvara,
ishvara pranidhanani
ya.
niyamaha.
Yeah, one second. Right. Now there are five. What is Yama? We are told attitudinal. There are five parts of it. Now, what I call as a behavioral niyamas, what are they? Again, there are five of them. Shaucha, you have to be pure. What is the purity? That purity, once again, manasa, vacha, kaya. You have to be pure in mind, you have to be pure in words, you have to be pure in action. It's not enough if you try to be pure in action, but in the mind we carry a muck. That is hypocrisy. But generally, we are hypocrites. There will be, after all, we are not really following what is in the mind, nor do we share what is in the mind. Therefore, to some extent, all of us are hypocrites on different degrees. No doubt about it. What is required is a purity in word, thought, and deed. That is what we have to try to practice. That is the saucha. Now, activities, which is a pure activity, which is not a pure activity, that is a big debate, big questions. If I have to say it from the Indian context, like I mentioned, the, the society was divided into four castes, jatis. For each caste, different set of activities was recommended. Higher the level, so-called in the strata you are in, tougher is the expectation from you, bigger is the demand from you. Lower you are just an ordinary worker who is just able to just survive by labor. The expectation on you is very limited. If you are a Brahmin kind of a superior guy who has got all the comforts in life, the expectations on you on purity is much, much, much higher. That's how it goes. But it led into all kind of complications. I won't go there. But you know, that is sort of used to discriminate. That's a separate conversation. Fact remains, depending upon who you are, that is the beauty of Dharma Shastra. It does not say the same set of rules for everybody. It recognizes people are in different um, levels of difficult living. Some are fortunate, the day food is assured, roof on their head is assured, comfortable sleep is assured, and therefore the expectations are much, much higher, and vice versa. So these are the shaucha or purity expectations. If you want to go deeper and deeper, you have to take this Dharma's instruction text. We start defining for each and every role what should be the level of purity of action expected. But for us, in general terms, we know that independent of any text, Dharma text, we know very well purity of thought means we know very well thinking of harming somebody is definitely not a pure thought. We know that very well. Hankering after somebody, transgressing all the moral conduct is definitely not a pure thought. We know that. Likewise, um, using foul words or strong words with the purpose or intention to make other persons suffer is not a pure word. We know that very well. Likewise, any action which affects or impacts negatively our physical cleanliness, our mental cleanliness, or psychological cleanliness, or emotional cleanliness is not a pure activity, right? For example, even if one debates whether God really exists, in a satsang, if you're all getting together, spending that 1 hour, 2 hour, thinking of good things in life, staying away from drinking, binging, those kind of things, that activity is a good activity, pure activity. On the other hand, even though I don't know, I'm not a bar drinker, so I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but I'll give that example. Even though that whiskey bottle is real, like God may not be real, but whiskey bottle is very real. But if you drink whole of it, it's not a great idea. That activity is definitely is not a pure activity, right? So therefore, intuitively, right, certain things we can automatically guess. We don't need anybody else to tell us, nor do we need any Dharma Shastra or book to tell us. It's been written already in our heads that these are all intuitively you can judge. Start with we follow that, but over a period of time we can try to make our life purer and purer by thought, word, and deed. That is what the purity Shaucha is all about. Any comment?
I think that this this whole chapter actually is kind of try to suggest that we all have like everyone should know their own place in society. And it's in some level, I mean, it sounds politically not correct in these days, but I think in some level, if you think about it very seriously, some part of it was very practical because it gives an order of society, and like everything can work as a well-oiled machinery or something. So everything just falls into places, the whole society, because everyone knows their own place and all kind of work and goals and whatever is in life. Am I right? Or
No, you're right. You're right. See, the point is, many of this is designed with an idea of bringing order in society.
yeah.
The fact that it can be hijacked is a different conversation, but intention was to create order and smooth working of society.
Yes,
Yep.
I think the intention was very, very good.
Yes.
And
Yep.
it's kind of misunderstood.
Yes. Right. Very correct. Then next one is Santosha. Saucha, Santosha is next one. What is Santosha? Santosha is the ability to be contented with what you have. It does not mean that you should not strive for bigger things or better. It does not mean that. It only means whatever is in front of you, first you learn to be happy with what you have. It is psychological also. If you don't know to be happy with what you have, you will not be happy with anything that you have. Right? Therefore, you forever, even if you're born to Bill Gates, you will feel very unhappy. Therefore, the first step is to learn to be happy with what you have. Right? Because this is very important, because as the younger days, as a small babies, we are always happy with what we have. We never know which friend is richer than us or poorer than us. We never ask any of those questions. We just be happy with each other. That's all we were. But over a period of time, as we become bigger and bigger, we have all kind of notions, and then we become very unhappy that, oh my God, my friend has joined Microsoft. I'm only working for some small little company. I feel very bad. I am actually more intelligent than that guy. But he went to Microsoft. What is this? So, though you have enough to be happy with to live, the fact that other person got better stuff makes you unhappy. These are all wrong behavior. So the
Sorry.
best behavior. Hello.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, what happened?
My computer died.
Okay, got it.
One after another. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. So, Santosha is very important. It is a very strategic activity also, strategic behavior also. Why? Think like this. We have 24 hours in a day, out of which 6 to 8 hours we sleep. Then you have 18 hours left. Reserve 2-3 hours for taking bath and eating, etc., etc. So 18 minus 3 is 15 hours you got. In these 15 hours, if you spend 2-3 hours comparing with others and feeling unhappy with what you have, you are burning the 2-3 hours of waking state, right? it is not, it is non-productive completely. Therefore, having santosha, being contented with what you have, is a very strategic approach to managing time. But at the same time, it does not mean that you should not try for higher stuff. Being content does not mean that, oh, I am, I am, or they say, no, I'm a pig in a, what they say, the pig always enjoys in the mud, You only get dirty if you wrestle with the pig, is what they say. Yeah, the pig is enjoying it, dirt, all right. But that doesn't mean it should not think that I need to get out of this mud, get clean, become a better, maybe a rabbit or something. It does not mean that. But like a pig, at least enjoy the mud which you have. I mean, it's a wrong example perhaps, but I'm trying to make a point here. Yeah, I hope I convey the message, right? Mary, you have anything to say?
No, we understand.
Okay. Then next is tapa. Tapa, many people would translate. The literal meaning of tapa is austerity. Yeah? I changed it to intense effort for a reason. Because sometimes austerity can be um, wrongly understood and adopted. Self-denial is not the objective. Austerity will be many times understood as a self-denial. Deliberately doing self-denial. That is not the idea. The idea is to add something, not remove something. That is, use your tapas literally in Sanskrit means heat. An intense effort creates heat. For example, we say that if you do too much, you say, oh my God, my head is all heated up, we say. It's an expression we say because we feel that, right? If you work very hard, you really feel, you sweat it out, as we say. Therefore, the intense effort is indicated here as an activity. Intense effort towards what? Intense effort towards this implementation of Ashtanga Yoga. Because we're talking about Ashtanga Yoga here. Not any intense effort. Yes, please.
It's an interesting thing, Mr. Rao. In martial art, the goal is to bring this heat down from our head into our belly. And then it's a symbol for that in water there is fire living. And if someone can do that, or it happens to someone that way, that this fire, the belly is always hot and warm and full of fire, that person can do real practice. So I don't, I don't want to say what kind of practices because I never experienced that. I tried to create it in my mind a couple of times, and yes, I created heat with my belly, but it's not staying there. And it's very difficult, and you have to know how much fire, and is it big fire, small fire. So there is a technique for it, which I'm not. Of course I tried with my mind, but it didn't happen because I like to just do things like that. And but this is the heat. Could this be in Ashtanga Yoga, this heat that, do they have this in yoga also, that heat in the belly?
No, let me put it this way. That's why I'm saying the problem, danger of over-interpreting words. I would interpret it very differently when you explain that heat from the head has to be moved to the belly. This is how it is. Heat in the head means a serious intention to achieve a success in martial art, become a champion. That is, you're always thinking about it. But that's not enough. Ultimately, you must be able to stomach the difficult practice, the tough competition. We always say, do you have a stomach for it? We say, right? That's what they mean by saying moving the heat from head to the body, the belly. It doesn't mean that you put a kind of hot water in the belly. And, I moved the heat to the belly. It's not that.
With the mind, and it happens on its own, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, Mary.
Is it the same Agni that in the belly, the Agni, the digestive fire?
Well, I don't think that's what they're talking about in that martial art thing. There are several types of agnis of fire in the body is identified. the belly, the fire in the belly is called Jhatragni. They say it can digest everything. You can use it literally because you digest everything, or figuratively.
Okay.
That's how all different languages they come to the same point, which loosely can be come to the point of saying, can you stomach it? That's the question.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. That is what they mean by saying moving the fire from the head to the belly. Because all ideas are great. So what? Ideas and intention, what I want to be there is meaningless unless you can stomach it. Because there is difficulty there, there's a pain there. You break your bone a couple of times, all the stuff happens. Can you stomach it? That's what they mean in my view when they say that. Yeah.
So Rao, when children they born, the fire it's in their belly because they get fed through the belly cord from
Yep.
the mother.
Yep.
And if someone, if this happens to someone, that fire moves down. I don't think that someone can do it. It happens on its own. And if that fire moves down, supposedly the person becomes totally healthy again, and all such an illnesses and things they get healed in the body.
Yeah, possible. Again, probably that's a different physiology we're talking about. So this is a tapaha. Then swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is not just a study. It's study, contemplation, and internalization. That's what I would call it as a swadhyaya, not merely reading a book. What we are doing is swadhyaya right now. We are reading a book, we are analyzing it. You give cross-reference from whatever you heard in Tai Chi or martial art or Buddhist, and Mary gives from her experience, etc. And then we compare notes. And then hopefully by today evening, when you close the conversation, the idea gets into you saying that, okay, these are all the behavioral patterns I must follow, right? That is called Swadhyaya. Then Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara Pranidhana is not just a devotion of Ishvara towards Ishvara. It is a deeper understanding of Ishvara Tattva. What does Patanjali say Ishvara is? The Ishvara is an entity which has transcended the space-time restrictions, which has transcended all the gunas. That entity is called Ishvara. We read it in one of the sutras. Therefore, trying to understand that is the Ishvara, trying to understand our relationship with Ishvara, more importantly, recognizing every moment of our life is a gift from Ishvara, right? For example, theoretically, I'm saying, for my age, in front of you, I can die. As I am talking, I can collapse and die. Therefore, every second, every instance is a gift from Ishvara. Recognizing that. For example, at my age, if I still have some great plans for doing next 2-3 years, I want to do these things. My next 2-3 years is no certainty here at all. It is even less certain. As I get older and older, that last 2-3 years are less and less certain. And you want to plan certain things during that time. If you want to achieve that, you are at the mercy of Ishvara for each and every second. Recognizing that I live because Ishvara's will. I think because of Ishvara's will. I act as per his will. And the results are Ishvara's will. This is called Ishvara Pranidhana. Not just going once in a while to a temple or a church or synagogue and saying good prayer and come back and then you get on with life. That is not Ishvara Pranidhana. The beauty of this game is that when you start doing Swadhyaya, contemplation, study this idea of Ishvara Pranidhana, as you start practicing it, really speaking, you will see one thing, that your life becomes more difficult. Suddenly all kind of challenges will be thrown at you. Maybe financial, maybe relationship based, any kind of thing, office, profession, whatnot. Anything and everything you may face problem. Why? Because you are being tested. Okay, buddy, you think you want to be a martial art guy? Come on, take this 10 hits. Let me see how strong you stand. Like that. If you believe in Ishvara Pranidhana, everything is as per Ishvara, you have to be tested. Not only testing to judge you, then he becomes a very crude Ishvara. unless you try it out, you don't build strength. You don't build strength in a muscle unless you work hard. It's pain. So it is not just testing with the intention of teaching you how to handle it. How does Ishvara teach? Not by external agency. You'll be thinking, you'll be confused. You'll be thinking, oh my God, I'm trying to be good here. I'm trying to follow you. I'm trying to be Ishvara. I'm trying to be a good person. Why am I having all these difficulties? Before I started believing Ishvara, I seem to have a better life. So what is this? That internal confusion has to happen. All kind of thoughts have to come. All negative thoughts have to come. Then internally you must wrestle with them and come to an understanding as to why things are happening as they are happening. And that understanding has to increase the conviction in Ishvara. That is a big training. Therefore, when you follow Ishvara, you will be tested with more and more challenges. Embrace it, accept it, try to reason out. Don't have very definitive opinion saying that I'll think through 3 minutes and at the end of it, I'll clarity. No. You may have to wrestle with life for the rest of your life, but still be willing to do that. That is again, paradoxically, it works. If you're willing to invest your entire lifetime to find an answer, you get an answer quicker. If you make all efforts to find an answer tomorrow, you'll never get it. That's how it works, mind works. So this is Ishvara Pranidhana. Yeah. That is, I think we're 7 o'clock. So we'll stop with the Ishvara Pranidhana. 33, we'll do it from the next session. Any concluding remarks?
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's
All right.
a good place to stop with Ishvara Pranidhana.
Exactly. You know, think, we must do the Swadhyaya now over this principle, okay? So thank you very much. Namaste.
Namaste. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.